In this video, we'll have a look at how to create some more creased edges on your subdivision surface objects inside of Maya. Now, you can easily add extra edges to create a creased look on subdivision surfaces. Let's go ahead and press the 3 key to subdivide this simple cylinder that I had. I added one segment down the middle just in order to give myself something to work with here. And now I'm going to go to Edge Mode and double click on this so that I get that center edge selected. And I want to have an edge that goes up close to the top and close to the bottom here to start. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Edit Mesh and Offset Edge Loop Tool. Okay, so now I'm going to click and drag on that edge until I get edges up pretty close to the top and bottom. I don't want to go all the way, but pretty close. And once I release the tool, you can see that I get a pretty nice amount of sharpening that goes on here. But if you look up towards the top, you can see that there is still, if you look at the shading, there's still a bit of kind of puckering that goes on because of this circle that's on the top. So let's go into Faces, and I'm going to select that face that's right on the top there, and go to Edit Mesh and Extrude. And all I want to do is offset this inward just a little bit. We'll go something like that. I can press Q to drop that tool, and then I'm going to right click and go back to Object Mode. And now you can see the difference between this part of the object and then the bottom side where we still have that puckering going on. And this is just because of the way subdivision surfaces work and they're calculated. I'm going to go ahead and select this and go out of sub-Ds so that we can see what's really going on here. So if you're creating a sharp edge with subdivision surfaces or a sharper edge, we're usually, when we're creating subdivision surfaces, not looking at those razor sharp kind of computer-ish looking edges. We're looking at things with a little bit of kind of life to them, a little bit of roundness, because we very rarely see things with razor blade sharp edges in the real world, unless it's, well, a razor blade or something like that. But I'm going to go in here to my faces while I've got this in this mode, and I'm going to use my scale tool just to scale this out so it's pretty even between either edge here. All right, and then let's go back to edges. And here's what's really happening. When we convert to subdivision surfaces, we have 3 edges to consider when we talk about any corner. And they're going to be your defining edge, which is going to be the actual edge that you want to simulate having once you subdivide. So in this case, it's going to be the corner, the most extreme edge. It's the one in the middle, typically, too. Then we have this other edge loop, which I can't select by double-clicking because it's on an n-gon, but this loop of edges that's running all the way around here. So that's going to be the incoming edge. And then we also have an outgoing edge, so this one that's down here on the bottom that leads this surface down out into the other one. And depending on the direction you're going, this one could be the incoming and that one could be the outgoing, but that's neither here nor there. So there you can see that by having these 3 edges, we properly define the shape, and then the definition of this sharp corner has to do with the positioning and the closeness of these edges to the actual subdivision surface model. So if I go ahead and select this now and press 3, and I'm going to go back to object mode so we can lose the wireframes, you can see that this is looking pretty sharp. So if I go in here, and again, I'm going to unsubdivide just so you can see how this works in polygons here. I'm going to go ahead and use my move tool to just slide this edge really close here. So let's get it all the way up to that edge. And since I can't select that whole edge loop on the top, I'll just select the face and grab the scale tool, and I'm going to scale that out to a similar distance from the edge of the border there. And then we'll go back to object mode and select this and press 3. Now you can see I'm even starting to see that little bit of a crease happen. So this is getting very, very sharp. So alternately here, if I go in and let's unsubdivide this guy, and if I go in and select this entire edge loop here, and let's this time move it down so it's a lot looser. And I'll go to Faces, grab the top polygon and scale it in. So we're looking at something relatively similar. And then while we're in here, I'm going to go into this bottom edge, and I'm going to grab this bottom face and use the extrude tool to just offset that a tiny amount. Now, even 0.1 is going to be too much, but instead of going and hopping over and changing my settings, I'm just going to jump straight over to our good old scale tool and just scale that back out to where it gets to a nice level. Now I'll select this and press 3, and you can see the smoothness of the 2 edges here. And let's lose our extra tools here so that we can jump into a quad view, And I'm going to focus in on the object in each of these views so you can see the difference between the top and the bottom, where I have the very tight, crisp crease down there, and then I have the looser crease up there. Okay, so that's how you can use edge loops to create more sharpness on your sub-D objects. There is one other way that we'll look at here, and it's very akin to the subdivision surface tools that allow you to make it sharp or not sharp. And that is going to work directly on the edges here. So I'm going to go to my edge mode, double click on this, and there is a proxy menu. If I go to proxy menu and go to the crease tool, now I can use the middle mouse button to increase or decrease sharpness. You can see that it says the maximum value is 2. So when I get to 2, it's essentially going to be a completely creased edge. And then let's go to object mode here and deselect that. So you can see this is pretty much creased. We're getting a little bit of rounding here, but that's just due to shading. If you look closely, you can actually see that is a nicely creased profile. But then if I go again into my edges here, I can select this and then do any level of roundness that's in between there. So that can allow me to do even more to continually refine the sharpness of the edges to create hard surface subdivision surface objects. I have all the benefits of this part being completely round, but then I can also create nice, sharp, crisp edges where I need them.